Hey everybody, welcome to Building Products Without Knowing Code. This is a crash course for web professionals, folks, hopefully like you and I, who do this stuff for a living, but we're not really super technical. And I realize that I don't have this presentation in full screen because I might do some other screen sharing stuff that I need to do. But who am I? I'm Matt Medeiros, co-founder of Slocum Studio, Slocum Themes, Conductor Plugin. I do a bunch of podcasts, and you can find me at Matt Medeiros on Twitter. That's the best place to connect, to chat about this stuff. So a little bit about myself. I'm actually just making sure I could see the chat room just in case I have to take anything here on questions. First product I ever launched wasn't in WordPress. It wasn't in the WordPress space. It was a theme for Drupal, and it was called Drupal Real Estate Theme. And that was what I started. Whatever version, Drupal 5, whatever year Drupal 5 was out. So we were going into Drupal 5, Drupal 6. And I was working for a company, and we were working with a Drupal team, and we were, doing regular client services, and we had a lot of real estate clients back then. And we thought to ourselves, like, boy, it's crazy to rebuild and repurpose all this stuff over and over again. Why don't we just make a consistent theme that we roll out to every real estate client? And again, this is whatever, 2006, 2007, maybe even 2005. So the concept of themes and heading over to ThemeForce didn't even exist. So we invented Drupal Real Estate Theme, and we actually sold it on the open market for quite some time. I think I was selling it for like $129, didn't know what I was doing. We ended up selling it off just because it wasn't something that we pursued. We didn't realize what the theme market was going to be like in the years to come. So without a doubt, I consistently have a lot of failed products. So for folks who have followed me for the last 3 or 4 years that I've been doing some podcasting stuff in the WordPress space, I put out a lot, I fail a lot, but it's the best way for me to either discover new products or push products even further, or just continuously sort of reinvesting. Again, the perspective here is I'm not a developer or not a designer, so the only thing I can do is try to launch these sort of new ideas with a team and some other folks, and we'll get into that as we move along. So tons of lessons learned, and I think that anybody who's out there, if you raise your hand, you say, like, this is my first, I want to launch a product, I want to get into this whole product thing, it's best to just try. I mean, it's really, it sounds so cliche to just do it, but I've interviewed hundreds of people now through my podcast, and that's just the resounding sort of thing that people say is just go ahead and do it, because you're going to learn a lot of this stuff along the way. A lot of folks would love to have a blueprint and sort of have these things sort of in place for us, and we just check it off as we go, and boom, at the end of this little sort of check mark journey, our product is done and money's rolling in. But sadly, it's not the case. But that is not to say that I'm not successful with it. And of course, this all goes back to how you define success in an online business, and we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end. But in the current iteration of products that we have, Slocum Themes, Slocum, and Conductor Plugin, I've done over $100,000 in digital sales, probably closer to the $200,000 mark. So I feel like it is a success. It is a success for me. It is a success for the context that I sort of live in and my work-life balance. So let's begin. So like I said, this is for the web professional. Some of these concepts that we're going to talk about today, you have to have some capabilities here. You can't just be a total noob off the street, never even knowing what either WordPress is or what the internet is or even what Facebook is. You have to have some kind of capabilities here. And one most important is a strong sense of marketing, or at least a strong sense of communication, talking to people, gathering data, and sort of relating that to where your product is going to go. Because the groundwork for a product doesn't begin with the first line of code that you write, but all of the research and time and effort you put into discovering who this product serves to the best of your abilities in the beginning. You are really laying the groundwork by identifying a problem that you want to solve, that you want to go after. or this is for the product owner who might have just launched. So you might have a plugin out there or a service out there, and you are in the early stages. A lot of folks that I talk to are accidental entrepreneurs, right? So they're folks who are very good at coding, they excel at coding, and they've got a nice little product and people have found it, discovered it, they've done an upsell and they've made some money with it, but they don't know how to grow it, they don't know how to take it to the next level, and they certainly don't know how to be the face of their own product, as crazy as that might sound. So what makes a successful product? I think the overlapping, and I'll sort of just give you the sort of the quick definition of where we're going at today, is a successful product is a good product that makes money, that's profitable, you can manage, it's got some leg room to grow, you definitely can feel successful launching it. A lot of folks think of the iPhone, right? They think of Instagram as a successful product. They think of WordPress as a successful product. They think of that awesome cooler that raised millions of dollars on Kickstarter as an awesome product. But the problem here is we're setting the bar extremely high, right? Running a business is difficult. Running a product business is difficult. Building all of this stuff and seeing it grow, marketing it, and really delivering and executing, as we'll learn, is very difficult. So when you set the bar as high as an iPhone or an Instagram, or do it like Apple, right? I heard a guy the other day say something like, "Oh, I studied Steve Jobs, and that's how I sort of, rolled out my product." Like, you didn't study Steve Jobs. You did the same thing I did. You watched him on, the iPhone rollout, and you called that studying Steve Jobs. This stuff is difficult. So the real question is, are you ready for this? And at what level are you ready for this? And there is some background noise. I do apologize. I have people working on my house. So you know what's cooler than $1 billion? Living your life, right? That's cooler than having $1 billion. And when you think about where you set the bar, and I'm guilty of this, especially in the early days, and we'll get into that, world domination, is it really for you, right? Because we always think like, what do you want to do? What is your team up to? Well, we're here for world domination. We want to sell as many products as possible. We want to make $1 billion. But is that what you really want to do? Is that what really is driving your business? For me, it's no longer about the $1 billion. And the resounding sort of feeling that I've gotten from a lot of entrepreneurs that I've interviewed is the mom and pop digital shop, right? The mom and pop digital shop. This is something that is so real, right? Small time folks, maybe like you and I, who are making these little products that aren't sort of making the headlines of the Tech Crunches and the WP Taverns of the world, but things that folks just enjoy building, enjoy buying, and some real tactileness to all of this stuff. You walk into a boutique digital place and you buy some stuff that you enjoy using. So back in the day, I did think about the $1 billion dream and going after the big fish. My first failed startup was Dropbox before Dropbox was even Dropbox. I was building these network attached devices and hooking them into local businesses, and they were syncing their files. It was a file storage service, right? And it was just syncing it to the cloud. Now, again, this is, I forget even what year this was, 2004, 5 maybe. And we were doing this, and people were like, this is an amazing thing, right? This is awesome. And we were thinking about like all of these big businesses we were going to go after and all of this money that we were chasing. And I got a co-founder, and he worked at a huge software company, and he was doing this on the part-time with me. We got some seed money, about $20,000 worth. We had an advisory board. So we had people who were advising us on how to start this up, including our seed investors. We had beta customers, and we were bringing this into businesses, and they were installing it, syncing files, rolling stuff out, and we were headed into production. That is until, of course, it all came crashing down on us, and my co-founder sort of flaked out. And I'll never forget talking to our seed investor and being so pumped up about, again, the world domination and about where we wanted to go. Like, we were picking out the color Porsche we were going to buy before we even had, our second beta customer. And we said, where do you see the problem in this business? Is there something you don't understand? And he wasn't a techie, so he didn't understand any of the tech stuff. But he said, I'm not worried about any of this technology stuff because it's going to change as you roll it out. I'm worried about you two. I'm worried about if you two can execute on the idea and if you two are actually going to stick through to build the business. Sure enough, he was 110% correct. As my co-founder sort of flaked out, ended up starting up another business as a side note and get some money from Google Ventures. So good for him, bad for me. So let's talk about your product, the product that you have in mind, the product that you want to launch, or maybe the product you already have out in the market. I'm just going to move my chat over here. Great customers make the great product, right? And that's where sort of the underlining target is. We want to go for the great customers to build a great product for them. Don't fall into the trap of multiple customer avatars. I'm going to show you an example of a customer avatar that I've sort of outlined. But in the beginning, when I launched Conductor, which is a plugin, we highlighted all of these use cases for the plugin, for the product. And it was, developers, power users, bloggers, designers, agencies. We had all of this stuff sort of lined out, and we're building marketing material, we're building pitch decks for those different verticals. And it was just way too much. Really want to focus in on one avatar set, one customer that you want to solve for. If it's your own sort of scratching your own itch, that's awesome. Find other people as itchy as you. And I'll take 100 super fans over 10,000 meh fans any day. So anybody that you can find and solve for that person repeatedly. And start small and manageable. This is a huge killer in the beginning. You get super excited about ideas, about features, about functions, about places you want to go. Right now, the resounding thing is, well, we got to go SaaS. Everything has to be SaaS. Get a plugin that goes into the repo that does one little thing, and then, oh, by the way, you sign up and you're connected to SaaS at a monthly fee. We see this with a whole ton of products coming down the pipe, and nothing is more obvious now than cutting out all of the fat in the beginning, which is super hard as a founder, as an entrepreneur, because you're super excited to get the stuff going and you have all these great ideas. But start as small and as manageable as you can, because the features, for every feature function that you put in, it's like 10 times that on sort of the marketing side, writing copy, doing demonstrations, selling that feature function in the person's brain. Do we want this feature function? Is that just something that's there? We don't really care about it. Really start as small as possible. Now, there are two phrases that I've heard from Pat Flynn before. I've had him on the show before, and he has said the riches are in the niches. I've heard that from him. Maybe somebody else said it. I have no idea. But the riches are in the niches, right? That's one thing. And it's certainly true, right? You're going to build a small, profitable product. It's nice, it's comfortable, and you can really market it. But the riches are also in the big businesses too. It's just a lot harder. So if you take a look at something like an opt-in monster, sure, the idea might start in the niches, right? It might be some small little pop-up idea, and maybe that's what you're building too. You're building a pop-up to capture an email lead. Hey, that's great. It's also a huge business, right? You have people like Opt-in Monster, which recently raised their prices, or going to be raising their prices and going to a monthly sort of SaaS, typical SaaS, traditional SaaS pricing model. And you have Unbounce, which is huge, right? This huge corporate enterprise level lead capture, charging probably thousands, if not tens of thousands a month to large customers. So I'm not saying you should be shy away from that. In fact, even Syed's company, Osmotive, has now dived into going into the contact form market, right? So, years ago, people were like, hey, there's no way you can even compete in the content form plugin space. Guess what? Ninja Forms came in, doing really well. Formal Forms, Gravity Forms continues to do well, and now even Syed's team has launched a contact form. So don't be afraid of the big businesses too. And one other thing about that, because I don't have a slide for it. So a lot of people say, go after the niches and come up with this thing. Don't forget that the target market is also going to be smaller. So your marketing and your promotional pieces for this kind of product are going to be a little bit harder for people to digest. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But the more micro your product is, it's probably got a twist to it. So it's probably not something you can sum up in 3 words like contact form plugin. It might be, some, longer term, and oh, by the way, it does this. It's like Dropbox, but it also does this. That starts to dilute the message, makes it a little bit harder to sell. So going after bigger businesses is also not a bad idea, because if you're going after a plugin, a contact form plugin, people know what a contact form plugin is. It's just going to be a lot harder for you to approach that business. Define your customer, define your product. So bonus points to client services people. And I only know about building products from the client services perspective. So what does that mean? My company builds websites for people, right? We build websites on WordPress. We build web apps on WordPress. So I get exposed to a lot of pain points that customers, experience. So my perspective is not from, gee, let me go after the, financial industry and figure out a pain point in there and talk to accountants and sort of dig deep in this unknown space that I have no idea about. And it comes from building websites. And I think that a lot of folks, I'll sort of allude to this as we go along, that being in the trenches is so important to building a product. I mean, unless you just say, I'm, cut and dry, I'm just going to build this product. I don't care if I know nothing about it. You might not even be passionate about that industry, which is going to be a little bit of a detriment to you. You might not be passionate about it. So it's just going to be this job for you. So bonus points to people who are in the trenches building this stuff for customers. And trial and error is a great learning device. When we're building things for customers, when we're solving their needs for them through a website or an e-commerce portal for them, we're doing a trial and error. We're seeing what works with them from within WordPress, and we're maybe building it into a plugin and solving that need, right? We get this constant trial and error going on, or A/B testing is maybe another way you could put it, with our customers. So again, if you're looking to bootstrap, like if you're looking to build a product and you don't have any money and you don't feel like going out to get seed money and getting investment because you don't want to give that ownership up yet, client services, web services, it's a great way to bootstrap your business and then learn from the pain points that your customers have. But there is a danger to that. Excuse me. Low-hanging fruit, right? Low-hanging fruit. Let me just make sure I got my slide up. Yeah. So for example, what is low-hanging fruit? So when we started our agencies, I'm sure a lot of you folks out there start your agency, you look around and you go, I should build websites for people because all of their websites suck, right? So you go around and you look at the food industry, you look at real estates, you look at car dealerships, and you say, boy, they could do a lot better if they invested in mobile. I'm going to go after these folks and tell them about, how they should invest in mobile websites, mobile real estate websites, or whatever it might be. And what that leads to is Me Too products. So, and the danger in this low-hanging fruit, and a lot of other presenters in WordSesh today have alluded to it, is you look at these low-hanging product or these markets and you say, boy, I think I can solve that. But then you have to take a step back and say, well, why hasn't somebody solved that yet? Well, for example, like real estate agents and restaurant owners, they have no time. They are super busy selling houses, cooking food, trying to make ends meet. There's no entry, there's no buffer for them to sort of sit down and say, oh boy, what should my technology approach be this year? What should be my web marketing budget this year? They don't have time to do that, a majority of them. And the danger is we start chasing these Me Too products, and we all start doing the same thing. Well, maybe if I just packaged up a restaurant website for $500 and I just put that on repeat, I could build this SaaS business. Yes, you can. It's not going to be easy, as you'll probably learn from a later presentation today from the folks at HumanMade. That's not going to be an easy thing to do. Some markets that look attractive are considerably difficult to serve. That's exactly what I was getting at. Understand your customer deeply, right? Create the avatar. This is the groundwork for your product. This is the groundwork for your product. If you don't understand what you're solving for your customer, or you don't understand your customer, you're not going to be able to solve their problems. So here's an example. And I have a whole series of a web discovery. I forget the title of it. I was trying to think of it off the top of my head, on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/TheMattReport. You can find it there. It's with Angie Meeker. It's like 3 hours long. And we do this discovery project. And it's like this. There's a basic one. You have to actually create the customer avatar. Total guesswork. but create it complete as you possibly can. Even this could get a little bit more complete. So I split things up into 4 quadrants. I give the person a name, an age, how much money do they make, what's their job title. You could even put in other accessory facts like they like to run, they like to cook, they do all this stuff. And that's in quadrant 1. And quadrant 2 is or quadrant 2 below that, who's Lisa? Lisa enjoys her freelancing business and isn't looking to grow beyond her, or at least a handful of freelancers that she contracts out to. But having a suite of tools that she can trust is paramount to the business and streamlines her efforts, allowing her to make more money, right? So at the end of the day, this is her story. I create this story out of thin air because I believe that this is the customer that I want to go after. Bullet points on quadrant 3: is dangerous with code, but not a dev, can use Photoshop, but not a designer, loves using WordPress, serves a small business market, specifically foodies, bloggers, and stylists. So at least I know, like, here is my person that I feel like my product might be a fit. This is their age, this is how much money they make, so I can kind of figure that out in pricing. And I kind of know these bullet points, like they kind of know how to do stuff with code, but they're not a true sort of engineer or senior developer, right? What I can do here is I can create content marketing towards that. I can talk about how our product or service can help in that area. I can write blog posts about it. I know that she's maybe going to buying other educational material, and I can sort of latch onto that. Anyway, in the last quadrant, I do this sort of social proof thing. Like, who are the people that my ideal customer might relate to? Because maybe I can highlight them on a podcast or get an interview with them. Or sort of just learn how they're changing their message over time. So maybe I change my message over time so I can keep reaching my avatar here, like Lisa Smith. So who might she follow? She might follow Lisa Saban Wilson. She might follow Matt Mullenweg, Gary Vaynerchuk, Pat Flynn, Andrew Warner. And I sort of approach building my product with that stuff in mind, because it's going to help me craft all of the features and functions within our product. Hope that makes sense. Gather your tribe before the product. Oh my God, we start a blog, right? That's the whole point. This is the idea here, is to use WordPress, use the tools available to us, because it's going to be your #1 marketing channel. It's going to be your #1 pre-sales channel. It's going to be your #1 support channel. It's going to be the #1 everything WordPress, everything, right? So it's a place to showcase your concepts, gather feedback, build a list, eventually serve as a platform to sell your products, WooCommerce, easy digital downloads, exchange, that kind of thing. And expand to your entire offering. You can do all of that stuff with your blog, if that wasn't already obvious. So don't waste time. Start talking to people right now. That's the #1 thing, is talk to people and define where the problem is that you're going to solve. Don't just sit in a closet and build stuff hoping that the world will come and buy it. And this is where passion meets personality. You have to have some level of personality in all of this. Either through a blog, either through Twitter, but then at the greater scale, sort of marketing yourself, doing a podcast, getting out in public. I mean, forget everything else, get out in public and talk to people. Hands-on at WordCamps, at local meetups, at other events and conferences that have nothing to do with WordPress, even better, right? Get out to Blog World or whatever it's called. Tons of sort of content marketing and SEO things that you can attend. Get out and talk to those people and see if whatever product you have or idea for a product, even better, can solve. So provide value before your product exists. You have this idea, you think it'll be awesome. You're in the shower and you're like, this is amazing, right? Or you're out for a run, which happens to me a lot. You're out for a run, out and taking a shower, and you're like, wow, that's a great idea. You go and pull out your wonder list, you write it down, you're like, I'm going to pursue this. I have a whole list of ideas that I have yet to pursue. So provide value around your idea before it exists. Start a Facebook group. Go into a Facebook group and talk to people about these types of things that you're trying to solve. Start review videos on other maybe products or services that sort of either align or maybe even compete with the idea that you might have, just to see if it gains traction. You could start a podcast. You could start a pre-recorded podcast around your business idea or product idea very easily. You could pre-record 10 shows. You could put a little call to action in there for an ebook or just signing up for the newsletter about a particular service that you might be launching. And if it never launches, so what? At least you tried. And at least you tried to gather people around this, because the worst thing you could do is launch and then have to build the list, right? Screencast tutorials, go to local meetups, WordCamps, present on the topic, just like we're doing here with WordSesh. If you have this idea, maybe you can present it at a WordCamp or something like WordSesh too to get some ideas. And the whole point of this is, can I drive interest and traffic to this topic? Are people interested in this stuff? Are they liking it? Are they sharing it? You have to gauge it. You have to look to see if you can gauge that traffic. Now, it's easy for me to say that, and a lot of people that I've interviewed have said that too. It's like, well, I get this idea, I talked to some people, I showed it, and boom, I launched it, and now look, I've got Get Drip, right? So I just had Rob Walling on the show, who started a company called Drip, just sold it to Lead Pages. It is a content email marketing automation service, and it was very like, I had this idea, I launched it, and guess what? It turned into a multi-million-dollar business, and he sold it. Great, but when do you know when to stop, right? Like, how long do you have these conversations and gather feedback before you actually start writing lines of code? Or in our case, as web professionals who might not write lines of code, get somebody to do that for us. Well, you set the goal early. And again, I'll just use a simple quadrant again. It's very important to have these goals as basic as they might be, right? What is it to you? Is it 25 emails on a newsletter sign up, 25 people who are interested, 1,000 visits to a promotional sales landing site, 100 likes on a Facebook page, or simply just a 2,000 word blog post that you wrote up, sort of outlining the idea, and you notice that it got a lot of retweets, or maybe a lot of people commented on it, right? That's your ultra MVP, most minimal viable product, is write a blog post as detailed as you, share it out, see what people say, drop it into Slack. If you remember at something like Post Status or in Carrie Dill's community, you can share that with folks there and figure out, anybody else find interest in this? Because that's where it's all going to begin. Build a pitch deck. And, a lot of folks have jobs, right? So a lot of us like doing this stuff, but we might only like doing this for 40 hours a week. I like to only work 40 hours a week too, but my brain is like 140 hours a week. Is there 140 hours in a week? I don't even know. But so my brain is constantly going. And I like to sort of look at the top. I like to look at everything at scale. So I follow a lot of people like Jason Calacanis, Gary Vaynerchuk. I like to see what like the top people are doing and find out like, what does it take to be at that level? Like TechCrunch Disrupt or Jason Calacanis Launch Festival. Like, if I was really going for millions and millions of dollars, what would I have to do? How would I have to perform? I look at that and I say, screw that. I don't want to be slamming my head against the wall like that, or even getting on a plane every other day. But I'm going to take it just as professionally as them. I'm going to build a pitch deck. I'm going to present my idea as professionally as they are. And in fact, this slide right here is, I haven't done this in a couple of years. I really hope I can do it again. I've done 2 episodes of a WordPress startup challenge, and it was very much what I saw with like Jason Calacanis doing, or TechCrunch Disrupt, where I had these small WordPress products come on, and we pitched it to a host of judges, a panel of judges, and got some feedback. Many of these companies have, like WP Curve is on there. Saya Balki was a judge on this particular slide. A lot of these folks went out and built great businesses like WP Curve, and Syed as a judge, obviously growing automotive. So build a pitch deck, take it professionally, learn how to pitch your product. The other thing I did with Conductor was, before we even wrote lines of code, is I got together a group of people that I trusted, that I knew would give me raw feedback, right? You want to find people who are not in your space, who will give you the true feedback, who won't sugarcoat it. And then they come from all different angles. It could be one person, it could be multiple people. I chose 6 people to give me feedback on what we were doing with Conductor at the time. And that was so invaluable, to find somebody that you can trust and find somebody that can give you that unadulterated feedback and say something is terrible. Don't even think about doing that way. Find yourself a panel of advisors, or at least one advisor, so that you can talk to. Bottom line is, get great at pitching your product. I'm a mentor at a local accelerator group here, and I am at a co-working space, and I don't know about you. If you're in a co-working space, I heard some people talk about that earlier. There's a lot of businesses that come in that are, they're all entrepreneurs, and you have to get great at pitching your product. It can't be something that people just don't like hearing about or just don't understand, right? So get great at it. Can you get it in a sentence? Can you do it in an elevator pitch? The startup podcast is great for that. Chris Sacca, there's an episode in there where Chris Sacca is talking, is like, if I were to hail an Uber on my app and it's coming in like 30 seconds, can you tell me what your business is? So what do I do if I can't write code, right? So this is where a lot of the WordPress experts are going to freak out in the chat room. So I'm going to take a sip of coffee, because I'm going to suggest some things that folks aren't going to like. Guess what? We're bootstrappers. We're entrepreneurs. We need to do things sometimes to get things accelerated. So you should have learned from being in the trenches. I said that before. Folks who are building websites for other people, doing client services, maybe even taking their product as a productized service first, and then rolling out a product on top of that, sort of learning what really works from the customer's hands-on. In client services, I constantly ask, can this be a product? So with every single customer meeting, every inbound lead, everybody who reaches out to us, we have this cachet of just past dialogue where we've tracked things in Trello, where we get constant requests for, and we look at it and we say, can we turn this into a product, right? Is this something that we can solve for multiple numbers of people? Will other customers come to us? So it might not be just a traditional product like SaaS or a plugin, but can we turn this into a marketing piece? Like, boy, we find that a lot of higher ed customers come to us for multi-site integration, and they want 2 or 3 themes that people can launch in different academic departments. Can we do that? Yes, we can. Can we streamline that? Yes, we can. So we try to look at everything as either a product or turn into a system, and that really helps. I know it sounds basic, but maybe a lot of folks, you get a lot of leads and you just throw those away and you never even think about that. But try to look at that and analyze that data as best as possible, and think of everything at scale. So don't look at all of, if you get this long-winded RFP with all these features and functions that people want, and you say to yourself, wow, that's a great idea for this customer, right? But when you pull that out, you pull that mold off and you try to bring it to another customer, it's not going to fit because they don't perceive options and features that way. But look at, I love the 80-20 rule. Look at the 80% and say, gee, can I take this 80% and broadcast that to everybody? Can this scale to more customers? Can this scale internally? Like, great ideas, but my team can't support that, right? Awesome idea, but there's no way, that we could, have a hands-on support channel to take care of this. So try to think of everything at scale. Mock up like a boss. I do this. I don't know. I mean, there's a million different ways. Remember, like, I am not proficient at Photoshop. Here's what I do, right? This is the way I do things, and I'll even show you. So I'm going to show you in my testing site here. So I'm going to go over to. So this is what WordPress looks like, right? So right now I'm running on a Windows machine and using desktop server to, which I forgot to put a slide in. I'll talk about that in a second. So here's traditional WordPress screen. And I even tell this to my clients, and some, I know designers and UI, UX people cringe at this, but here's what we do. We say, show me what you want to do in WordPress, right? If you're not a technical person, you don't know how to deliver these things, or you just want to quickly mock things up, go to the dashboard and pull down the little screen options and uncheck all of this stuff. And we got this little blank slate here. Screenshot this and drag and drop that into, maybe you could use Photoshop, or drag it into Google Slides, right? And build a mock-up. So you say, okay, well, here's my blank sheet. And then all I did was drag a square shape over this, hit all this stuff, like, whoop, there it is right there. So we drag it on top. And then on the next page, we go, oh, here's my option. So I just took the text box and I started putting in my options here. And I'm mocking things up in WordPress, which I know sounds so basic to some of you, but I get so many RFPs of leagues of text that I can't begin to follow or take the time to read. And you can do this in Google Slide, and I could, continuously make slides like this. And as the slide changed, the option changed. And this is a way you can demonstrate and even pitch your product idea before you even write lines of code, before you even spend $1 in investment. You can even take it a step further, which I sometimes do, is you could use something like a custom fields or meta box builder. There's a bunch of them out there, right? So, and custom post type builder, right? So you could, this is just something I was working on before for a screencast, but this is a custom post type. So books, if I was making a pop-up plugin, this could be my pop-ups, and I could go into all pop-ups, and this could be pop-up number 1. I could hit edit on this. And then down here is my custom fields. And then, oh, by the way, if I think of a new option, right? If I'm like, oh boy, wouldn't it be great if I had a image upload for the background of a pop-up? I can go over to my content type builder. I can go to the section where I build the fields, and maybe I can drop in a field. This is not the right one. I wasn't planning on doing this, but edit fields. And I can go in and say, give me image background. And the whole point of this is, and I can pick image background, uploader right here. The idea behind this is we're using these sort of traditional developer tools, and we're mocking up a real life UI that we can use to demonstrate to somebody. We can use to demonstrate it to a developer. We can do a screencast about it. It could be a teaser video, that kind of thing. So that's my little hack with WordPress and custom fields and meta boxes, screenshots, do it all in Google, that kind of thing, or Google Slide. Or take it a step further, go to Balsamiq mockups for wireframing. I do like that tool a whole heck of a lot. InVision app is awesome. A little bit better for sort of real in-depth designs. A lot of design mockups go in there. Not so much wireframing. I guess you could do wireframing in there too. I just never have used it for that. So who will build your product? So if you've got the idea down, you have you've mocked it up, and you're ready to go. You can really demonstrate it. And who's going to build it? Well, first, can you look to your own team? Again, depending on who you are, what context you live in within the WordPress world is, do you have a team of contractors readily available? Can your own agency carve out a little bit of time, or your own team carve out a little bit of time to build this product? So look to your own team first, if you have a team. If you don't, ask an agency, right? Find an agency, probably a boutique agency if you are just starting out with your first product. Don't be afraid to ask them. I feel like we're all really good, at least my colleagues and my peers of other boutique agencies, at identifying something that we know that there's not going to be a budget for. So if you only have maybe $1,000 to spend, probably a lot of agencies won't take that on, but you might find one that might align with you a little bit, right? Talk to them, get out there, and either send them emails or meet them at WordCamps, that kind of thing. Talk to freelancers. I don't know, the other day I saw like 5 top tier WordPress developers saying that they were available for work. It's ridiculous. There's a lot of good talent out there, and a lot of folks that you can sort of latch on to say, hey, help me. Can you help me build this product? And again, let me tell you why a lot of people say no. I'll tell you why I say no to a lot of customers too, is they haven't done this. They don't have their idea fleshed out. They don't have a proper mock-up. I can't figure out where the vision goes. They even don't know where the vision goes. They haven't done what we talked about before, which was define a proper customer. They haven't defined the avatar yet, so they don't even know where their business is going. They haven't set any goals as basic as they should be. They haven't done that yet. There's no version 1 goal. There's no iterate. They're trying to think like, I'm going to compete against Amazon. Can you build it for me for $500? Certainly not going to happen. So I know that a lot of agencies will say no to low budgets, mostly because of all the discovery work that has to go on behind the scenes. If you can take that discovery process, the avatars, the wireframing, and deliver it in a nice, precise package with precise goals, even to a top tier freelancer, even if it's a small budget, I bet they might say yes. I bet they'll take on a small budget project if you have everything outlined with realistic goals. Or like everyone's favorite internet marketing entrepreneur, you can live the dream and hire from Odesk. You too can outsource your dream at low dollars and build something amazing from an outsource service like an Odesk, virtual agency like an Odesk kind of thing. Now, I will tell you that I have done this. And 9 times out of 10, it lands crashing on its face. And I've wasted so much time, more valuable time than the dollars that I invested. And time again, I have learned that it's not easy to do this stuff. And I am, even though beginning of the show, I said I'm not technical, I'm technical. I'm a lot more technical than a lot of internet marketers out there and a lot of other internet marketers that they sell to that say, oh yeah, go build it on Odesk, come back and make $1 million next weekend. Even I can't do it. And maybe I'm missing something in there. Maybe I'm missing, the NASA engineer at $4 an hour that could be building me stuff. Maybe there's a check mark, an Odesk somewhere. Or Upworks. Yep, you're right. Sorry, Upwork. That's how long ago I used it. Maybe there's a check mark in there for like NASA engineer, $4 an hour with a 5-star rating. I don't know. I just can't find it. That's not to say I haven't found a good amount of decent developers when I was there. And what I did was I used that to prove the concept. So for a few $100, can you find somebody who might be sort of difficult to communicate with and their code might not be the best and they might not be doing it through WordPress standards, but can they build the concept? And that way you can take that concept and bring it to a real developer or just a higher level of degree of developer and get them to play with the concept so that they can visualize it and interact with what you were looking for. And they could make it a little bit better. They could make version 2. That's your alpha. They make your beta. You sell your beta, and then you go into full version 1 with some paying customers. At the end, and also, if none of this stuff sounds interesting to you, don't be afraid to partner with somebody. And you can, I said real, I didn't mean that they were a fake developer, they weren't real developer. Don't be afraid to partner. If you can find a developer, I know tons of developers out there that would love to partner. Again, if you're in communities, if you're just going to WordCamps, if you're on Twitter, Post Status, Carrie Dill's community, all that stuff, find other people to partner with. I find that there are a lot of people who are afraid to partner. People are afraid because they don't want to give up ownership of their idea. They're afraid to, gee, what do we do with the money? Is it 50-50? Like, how does that work? Look, I think that you are going to go to greater places if you partner with somebody, especially if you don't have the missing skill set, whether that be development, design, marketing, copywriting, operations, depending on what your business is. Find somebody that you can partner with and don't be afraid to have those discussions. So what do you do when you launch version 1? You have to bring your A game. Now, this is a story that I told countless times over, so I do apologize if you've heard this before. But when we originally launched Conductor, I launched it on Carrie Dill's podcast. It was live, it was like promotion time. It's like, we've got our beta version, we're ready to roll. And we launched it on that podcast in 1 hour. We sold $4,000 worth of licenses, maybe another, almost under another 1,000 sort of towards the trickle end of the day. So I'm looking at like a $5,000 day. And I was like, yes, it's, again, what color Porsche am I picking out? Like, this is amazing. And I wrote about this somewhere. Maybe I can link it up at some point. And then from 30 days after that, we sold about $800 worth of licenses, for the next 30 days. And, the hopes and dreams went crashing down. You have to bring your A game and you have to give yourself a chance to promote and produce the marketing material to sell the product. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people still think that if you build it, they will come. But you have to give yourself a chance, as much of a chance, I'd say 3 times the amount of chance and time and effort you put into building a feature for your product, you give that same amount of time to sell it, because you have to, not everybody is paying attention. when you're promoting, when you're doing a webinar, when you're doing a Facebook ad, when you're doing all this stuff, people aren't always 100% there paying attention. And I'm going to speed things up because we're running out of time. Give yourself a chance to promote. Focus on sales more than your first set of features. Sales is the lifeblood of the business. Nothing sucks more than when you're not selling anything and you're like, well, maybe like no sales are coming in. Maybe I'll build another feature. Maybe that'll get them to come. Incorrect. You need to get out, get on a podcast, get in front of people, do something, blog more, present more, sell, right? I know a lot of people don't like that. Gather as much feedback as possible. This is imperative to the business. Gather feedback, talk to people, especially in the early days. If they're buying your product for the first time, make them make them founders too, right? This is the founder edition. You're buying this and you are a founder, and for the first 100 people, I will take your feedback and we'll help build that into a product. Hey, Dave, provide value before your product exists. Right? This is awesome too. So again, we're talking about testing this product before you even write a line of code, before you even spend $1. Whoops. I think we talked about that before. Maybe this slide wasn't supposed to be here, but anyway, Facebook groups, review videos, podcasts, screencast tutorials, provide the value before you build the product, and just gauge that value to see if people will be coming to buy this. We're living at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, we're living in a great time to build products. Tools are getting easier. WordPress is getting better. The community is growing despite some of the stuff that you read in the news today. There is plenty of opportunity for a lot of folks. I mentioned Upwork before. Facebook ads is so dead simple to at least launch a basic campaign. And by the way, pro tip, video views are like a penny a view on Facebook ads. So if you do yourself a nice little screencast, I did one the other day for our latest theme, and it was like, it was a penny a view. So we got 7,000 views for $70 or something. It's amazing stuff. It's easy to do. And it's easy to connect with people and get this feedback. Our products will have to be great, but not huge. And this is important to me. And this is something that is, as I'm getting older, as I became a father, again, I'm not chasing the $1 billion dream at this point. Our products will still have to be great, but they don't have to be huge. We can build a great product, and guess what? We can build another great product to sell. So it's not like that product ends. Depending on the size and the manageability and the scale of that product, we can build many products, right? And build a brand out of ourselves. It's super okay to fail. In fact, if you haven't failed yet, screw you. No, if you haven't failed yet, you will. It's a great learning device. And it's okay to be small. It's okay to accept the fact that you are not going to get to whatever level that you aspire to be tomorrow, but you might get there in 6 months. You might get there in 6 years. You might get there in 16 years. But be comfortable and okay with the fact that you are making small products that people love. That's the goal. And don't be afraid to try. Whoops. Don't be afraid to try. A lot of folks are afraid to do this stuff because I don't know. I'm not a good developer, not a good designer, not a good marketer. I don't know how to do business. I don't know how to support people. I don't know how to talk to people. Try it. Get it out there with an ebook, a community, something like that. You'll be better off for not trying. Thanks, everybody. I don't know if I should be stopping this thing or if I should be taking questions. I guess I'll take questions. Guess I will take questions. I got 2 minutes left, I believe. Let's see here. The first time you launch a product, what is your goal? The first time you launch a product, what is your goal? Do you launch first and then iterate and launch big the second time, or go all in the first time? Thanks, Jason. I launch and then I iterate. I do not try to put everything in the kitchen sink in at once. Again, if you are launching something with a boatload of features, and again, guilty as charged, especially Conductor, as basic as that plugin is, it is still very complicated for most. And that is a hard lesson learned, that we have to market each feature and each function separately. So I try to iterate. You can have the grand idea, you can have that grand scale, and I hope that you do. But try not to launch everything all at once, because it'd be wicked hard to manage all of that at once. Let's see. With the REST API opening up, WP is a backend system with incredibly easy management interface. Do you think developers from other communities will start launching projects with backend JavaScript? That comes from AJ Zane. AJ Zane, my upcoming episode with Rachel Baker will sort of highlight some of that stuff. You heard some, if you were listening to Brian Krogsgaard's talk from a couple hours ago, I think at this point, he and I probably share the same thing. I too feel that we will get a lot of differences with admin, although Rachel shares a good amount of insight to that. That'll come out this week. But so that my thing is, yes, I think with the REST API, when it comes in, why can't we have our REST API? When it comes in, we're going to start to see a lot more app-like things. I'm a little afraid about fragmentation, which is what Brian hit upon before. Is, you know, he said he imagined many stakeholders across different things, but with like this Venn diagram of this one big circle that all meets back in WordPress. I hope so. You know, he talked about he'd like to see innovation in hosting. I think we already have that from HumanMade and even folks over at Rainmaker. We're seeing, you know, iterations of this stuff, and we're going to look back in 2-3 years and say, remember when they just started out, and look at it now. But I am a little bit afraid of fragmentation in that. But I think it'll be a good thing. How do you balance the passion being a service provider and building websites, really focus on working closely with clients, and the passion for building and selling products? Liam, this is an amazing question. This is one that I ponder every single day. The founder of CoSchedule, Garrett Moon, just once told me when I had him on the show, because they started out as client services. They built CoSchedule. Then they raised $500,000 in angel investment. Then they sold it to a larger agency. It's a mindset thing. And agency work, product work, this is a game. There are no rules, right? I guess that kind of contradicts each other, but I enjoy the game of it because we can, I guess, almost make up our own rules. No one says you have to do X amount of hours for client services. No one says you have to even service clients a particular way within the confines, I guess, of your country's laws. And no one says you have to build a product a particular way or sell or market a product a particular way. So that gives you the ability to do whatever the hell you want. But it's not going to be easy. But Garrett Moon, back to that, he just said, look, we start off our Monday meetings, like a lot of us do, with planning the product. Like, we have client work to do. And clients are still good. I still like my clients. I probably have clients watching this right now. But we start off our Mondays with talking about the product, getting energized about. And you just have to get into those mindsets. And maybe say no to a lot of client services, but you have to have that plan. You have to have that goal to say you're trying to get somewhere with your products. Because if there is no goal to launch version 1 by end of September and, you know, have full-fledged launch in January kind of thing in place, then you just keep meshing things together and things keep hitting the wall. And again, in the client services side, if you don't start to specialize so that you can bring your funnel tighter, like if you don't start to specialize on that end and say, well, we only do these types of clients, then it'll be hard pressed to manage that stuff too. I think I saw Brad. I hope that answers your question, Liam. It's a great question. I think I saw Brad pop in. Let me make my video a little bit bigger, Brad, so we can see each other clearly. Any other questions? Josh Strebel, who is this Matt fellow? Hi, Josh. Questions, comments? I don't even know if I'm supposed to hit end. Typical Patriots fans, no rules. Oh, I see what's going on. Tom Brady for life. API and WordPress. I think he means endpoints. Yeah, I mean, don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm saying about that stuff. Dave Bell, how is your new baby? Baby Brock is doing well. He's at the beach right now, I believe. I think they already left. If not, you might be screaming in the background pretty soon. Dave Bissett, how's the House remodeling coming, Mr. Success. Well, I take my webcam down there, but the kitchen remodel is almost done. That's what happens when you launch micro products. You can get a new kitchen. It's amazing. How would you organize? This is a great question. How would you organize research, looking at blogs, finding keywords? Let me see real quick. How to reverse engineer your competition. Let's see if I rank for that. Oh, second place. At least I'm logged in anyway. So if you Google how to reverse engineer your competition in 10 minutes, I did this blog post here. And I sort of build out what I call a competitor board, direct, category, indirect. And I sort of I break it all down in this post on how I sort of look at the competition. I look at all sorts of things from their website performance, what they rank for, and I organize that. But if you're looking for a tool to do all that, I do that in Trello. But again, if you Google reverse engineer your competition, I guess I could just drop this into the chat. I don't know if that's even. Oh yeah, you're right. The video is covering. Hold on. So how to reverse engineer, here it is. Here's what the competitor board looks like, direct, indirect, and I guess I'm allowed to drop in this link. I don't know if we're supposed to, but there it is. What about pre-selling a product before it's done? Abso-freaking-lutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. Here's another product I never launched. Speaking of failures, getjulep.com. This is a perfect example of a product that I started to build. Again, this is based on the same concept of what I did before. Look, I think you need to take a step back and understand that if you think you're going to be launching, scratch that. I think if you're going to be launching a product, you have to start pre-gaming now, right? You have to start building the attention as much as you can. For me, it's video and podcasting and Twitter and stuff like that. And you just have to start putting it out there. And it's going to suck at first. And it's going to take some time. But eventually you'll start to grow an audience, not even a list. You'll start to grow an audience and people who follow you and chat with you. Then you can roll out growing the list, and then you can put something out. So the worst thing you can do is go all this way, build a product, have all this awesome stuff, and then hope somebody buys it day one. You need to start talking to people and growing the interest as soon as possible. And if you're a developer out there, that's right. Somebody said roll out the teaser videos, that kind of thing. Teaser videos, early bird beta releases, yes. Do you want to get involved in my awesome new project? Hit me up. Let's talk and do these face-to-face things. And yeah, you're just going to do it. You start promoting yourself and don't be afraid of it. Even if people start hating you and saying you're a Patriots suck, but Patriots don't suck. Anyway, anything else? I think I have 3 minutes. I don't know. I saw Brad come on. I'm done. WordSesh says I'm done. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. Do I just cover my video like this so people can't see it anymore?